Joseph died in Portland, Oregon, in an apartment that was locked and deadbolted. He had had health issues during the last few years, so had not been working. Joseph Evans was his emergency contact in the housing unit's records. Joe was his uncle through adoption by his sister, Grace, and her husband, Clayton. He was adopted in 1952 from a couple who hadn't been able to care for him, so was very malnourished. They lived in Waterloo until a few years later. His family bought a camp and lodge in Sioux Lookout, Ontario, Canada. They made a nice living with their lodge and campground on the Little Vermilion Lake. His mother had received high awards for catching the largest northern cod in one of their lakes and was featured in Field and Stream magazine. He grew up and helped around the camp and cabins and at the lodge, where his mother cooked for hunters and fishermen and fixed shore lunches for the guides that took their patrons on fishing trips. Joseph loved the outdoors and grew up to be a nice young fellow. His dad took ill a little later, and they had to move to different places, which turned out to be Vancouver, British Columbia, Canada. Grace found a job in a hospice program there and cooked for about 100 patrons. Joe helped with taking care of the apartment complex where they lived, as well as taking care of his dad until his death. This found them moving once again, this time back to the USA, Beaverton, Oregon. Joe then was hired as a sous chef at one of the restaurants. They seem to have lived happily there until his mother took ill. She was having trouble with his independence and trying to keep up with his wants. We asked if she would like to come and be near us, and she agreed. We got an apartment in downtown Savanna. She enjoyed being near us, but soon had a stroke and had to be moved to Big Meadows. She died in 1996, and we kept contact with Joseph for a while. He said he lost his job.
When he was back for a funeral, when he was back for her funeral, he kept asking for money to keep him going, and we tried to help, but shortly after that, he called and said he was hired on as a chef at Grand Canyon. But he seemed very excited by this, and we were happy for him. One day he called and said he was going to Canada to visit an estranged daughter. She called us and said he wanted to stay with her, but they couldn't do it as they had all they could do to care for herself and husband. She asked if we could send him money to get back to Oregon, and we did, trying to give him instructions where he might get help. We sent him the money, and soon he repaid us. We sent him a card for his birthday, but it came back. A number of the family tried to find him, but with no avail, until we got a call from the medical examiner that he had died of natural causes. We were sad, but it brought closure to his family. We let many of interested family know about him, and he was and will be remembered in our prayers.
Amen.
Joseph
Clayton
Walrod, born on October 7, 1950, died September 8, 2016.
Now I don't know, do you tamp it down?
Well, let's let it
This
settle in
is
for a
at
while.
St. John Cemetery here in Savanna,
Yeah, but it'll just,
about 9 o'clock in the morning.
it's fine, Dad.
I know it is.
Okay, so we put him to rest, Joe. Can I see your face here? That's him. Dr.
You
Mary
might pull your cap up a
and
little bit.
Irene over there. Thank you for making that memorial